This is Killing Eve. Hi. Yes, wonderful to see you. Thank you for coming and Happy New Year. Okay, let's get started. Starting at the beginning, to bring this to life was a collaborative effort. Phoebe reworked the material, Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer handpicked and also tested before anything took off. Luke Jennings is responsible for the lauded series and has been on board since the inception of the show, speaking to Phoebe one-on-one on multiple occasions about the direction and the vision. Luke Jennings really focused on women and murder and the long history of it, and what it means to be a predator. Idoia Loperiano, the face of this Frankenstein collage that is Villanelle. Emphasis on Frankenstein because there are a lot of stylistic choices and mimicry at play in the show, especially when it comes to the criminal activity of female serial killers. For example, Idoia was chosen as the face because she was borderline ditzy in the way that she came off. I mean, she got distracted by a boutique window showing her own reflection. What a dumbass. And personally, whether you were on the job or not, does not really change my opinion, because if you're out here extinguishing people's lives, I mean, what am I gonna really say, you know? However, if this is just gossip, and because it can't be fact-checked, I'll say sorry. Because I can admit when I can't know things for sure. Adding to the absurdity of it all is that apparently a coworker came forward to corroborate the fact that they are indeed very vain unto themselves. But it's kind of like any other job. It's like, wow, you really can't escape gossip or other people's opinion of you. Really. She was released in 2017 after serving 23 years in jail. So there's that. This is just one example of the multitude of historical references throughout the show, and especially violent acts that pertain to the history of female serial killers. A fantastic reworking of the spy thriller elements. Season 1. Now the art. So this is Eve, and she works a 9 to 5, and this is Villanelle, a charismatic murderer. Off curiosity and intuition, she manages to touch on Villanelle, purely by accident.
Hey, hold on. We got Margie, go. How big are her tits? Breasts? Okay, I know you're into assassins, but I refuse to talk about them this way. They're people too, you know.
She basically got fired for taking intelligence and using it to crack the case, even though that's not even her job. But Carolyn took her on because she's exactly the kind of person, well, tenacious person that she's looking for. To be clear, everyone worships Carolyn. She's the head of the Russian desk for MI6, and she definitely has power and pull. Eve ends up hiring everybody from her old job, starting with Bill, Elena, and they are joined by Kenny. Meanwhile, Villanelle is fully in her element, watching who's watching her, and finishing off her jobs, one by one. I mean, they are international affairs, so it can't really be helped, but they must be hand-picked and handcrafted. A la Agent 47, and with a lot of flair and pizzazz. But anyway, back to Eve, who now has been revitalized by all the danger, all the monotony that she's been feeling, all the boredom, all the gray, wiped away, but she seems to... well, she seems to like it. I mean, she slapped the shit out of her own husband just for the sake of being able to continue this job.
Thank you.
Then they eat her man's shepherd's pie. Oh my god. And then this good-looking creep shows up and waterboards the shit out of Eve. Crazy. Then Eve's former boss is being hunted by the 12, the group that he's colluding with.
Frank, are you running or are you
Or
crying?
was colluding with. Eve tries to save him, but it's too late anyway. I think about a week later they murder him in the safe house. Nadia, her ex-girlfriend and now former co-assassin, is on the chopping block. Constantine makes it sound so easy. Just get in, scrub Nadia, and I'll be right back to pick you up. However, she was going back to the prison where all of this had started, and she was worried that she was going to get abandoned here on purpose. And honestly, good assessment. Reassured, she goes. She makes a little friend in the pen. They violently assault each other. Meets up with Eve and Carolyn for a little bit. Refuses to talk. And she was abandoned there until they needed her.
Kenny, will you please organise Elena to fly you both back to London? There's no longer anything to investigate here.
Wait, what?
But I just got here.
Thank you.
Yeah, what? I just got here. Taking a flight to
follow
get
on.
kicked
I have a
out.
few things to
Okay.
tell you.
You abandoned me.
I was protecting you. They want you dead.
No, they want you dead.
Who told you that?
Anton,
Where is he?
he's dead.
Oof.
He told you to kill me?
Yep.
So
Where's
justifiably
his death,
pissed,
Linda?
she took his family.
Where are they?
I
They're
mean,
screaming
a
at the
hitman
cops.
for hire who told you they have abandonment issues, and then you abandon them, and we're surprised?
Thank you for keeping my family
Sweetheart,
in
this is
I'm not
par the
stupid.
course.
I said thank you.
I agree. I'm glad she didn't do what she's best at. So he pretends to take a deadly combo, looks at the glass. Boom! Throws it. Direct hit, double hit. And he's out of here! Yep, and that's what a seasoned spy would do. And yeah, I honestly don't know what kind of an animal takes a glass and a log to the face and immediately gets up. So kudos to her for getting up and just shooting in the first place. I mean,
I'm ready to... Why aren't you in London?
Why did you?
boom.
Why is he in here?
Listen, you pack up the base, get yourself home, and we will talk later.
I want
Oh
to...
yeah,
You either want a job, in which case you do what I say. Or you don't want a job, in which case you fend for yourself for
this
once.
is his IRL mom. Like, damn. Talk about a tonal twist.
Yes.
I think the best sex we ever had was on that chair. Oh, push.
Interesting. After she denied that to Eve, who straight out asked her if they had had sex.
No, Irina, you stay. This is an example of someone who thinks they can shoot a gun, but they can't. You're safe.
I can't.
Having the time and the pettiness, she obviously instigates some shit with her ex. Like, dude, holy shit, you killed her husband, you went to prison, it's been years, you send her your stuff so you can pick it up discreetly later. Basically, you're making her a mule for all your stuff. It's like, isn't it enough?
Did you two used to go out?
She seduced me.
Come on.
It was you.
Fine. But can you blame me?
If you love each other.
I don't love her anymore. The thing is, I can't kill you.
So you don't love her, but you sent all your valuables to her house just to reopen the wound or whatever? Okay, dude. Sure. Plus, I think it's interesting that even though she says she doesn't love her, that when Anna passes on, she clearly seems to be remorseful, almost just like taking her in for the last time. And it kind of begs the question, it's like, would you have let her live otherwise? Finally, it all comes to a head. Constantine and Eve manage to corner Villanelle and find Irina with her.
What?
Me or her?
This entire situation feels exactly like that one question, which is just a child's tantrum. At this point, Constantine and basically just Eve are trying to put a handle on this situation. Constantine, while trying to retrieve his daughter, gets shot. Anyways, it doesn't matter because I'm crediting the child with her own rescue because she got out on a fluke and the adult's incompetence in this situation is just something to be admired almost. I mean, Eve, get a grip! Oh my god, you have her cornered. Why are you crying right now? Stop. And she's gone? Listen, Eve gets away with it because she's a very cute older lady, but if you discovered that this investigator is in your apartment fucking up all your shit and then laying in bed with you is professional, then we are both delusional.
Well done.
Thank you.
Bozo behavior. They've been mutually stalking each other. Like, please get a grip.
Are you gonna kill me?
Well, that's different. Anyway, this is where it all goes wrong. But seriously, why stab her? The ending of this season was basically misplaced toxic passion. Because there was no reason to do that. At all. And yeah, there are two types of ways that you can actually interact with your own passions, whatever those may be. Obsessively or harmoniously. Those are your two options. Basically, it's up to the individual to decide if the cost is worth the risk. And also feel free to pause, to read, or Google. Because at the end of the day, these are all just psychological theories and methods in which to handle your career or passions with the best and healthiest approach possible. And I say that being fully transparent about the fact that not everything works for everyone, and that's okay. Season 2, and we are in the thick of it. And none of the good thickness. Nope, the landlady just got murdered. Oops. And everyone is running out of the building. Villanelle manages to steal a jacket and some vodka from a homeless person, get hit by a car, doesn't die. Ta-da! But also the thing here is that even after, she's just kind of psychotic. She thinks that she and Eve are closer than ever. And she ends up befriending a small boy only to wipe away his life due to whatever she thinks mercy is. Carolyn and Eve are back together again. They meet at a park. They briefly discuss what happened with Villanelle, to which she just brushes it off, and she is back at work. Carolyn invites her because of an investigation involving a brand new serial killer who has a completely different style to Villanelle. Priorities: get my job back, and 2, build up confidence with my husband. And so she's just letting him know it's safe. But yeah, Jess, Hugo, and Kenny, her team. And she's here because
decision making is
very smart, too
and
impulsive,
somewhat emotional.
makes her
Carolyn,
seem
on the
dumb.
other end of things, is the ultimate professional.
Yeah, I think Carolyn treats
The
people
ultimate
well if
hee,
she
we
needs
are a
something from them,
family here.
and doesn't really bother with them if she doesn't.
Like this orange, you're getting milked, baby. So everyone is going full Americano, and yeah, it's about to get real because it's the who, what, when, where, and how did this Google-like type tycoon old man die? Who killed him? Because he was in perfect health. Also, Carolyn is the most unserious person ever. She had a professional sit in, and they were like, Eve is too close, and she's like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. Meanwhile, Villanelle is finally back in the UK, and she gets helped by Julian, who ends up treating her like one of his many dolls, and also locks her in the house whenever he leaves, and doesn't let her talk to anyone, to the point that she calls MI6 and the 12, and nobody's picking up. He started out as the typical nice guy, but then he got really creepy and super aggressive, so it was only a matter of time. If she wasn't a serial killer, she would have died there most likely. Tiny silver lining, I guess. And she is back on it. This is Raymond, her new handler. Also, yeah, she's harassing Nico and making direct complaints about him at his work. So jealous. To the point that she ends up showing up, dressing up as a teacher, and bombing this party. Not literally, by the way, but I mean just crashing it. I forget what set her off, but something did, and so she jumps into defense mode, but Nico's pissed. He's just like, listen, please go home. You're making everything about yourself, and I just can't do this. Also, Constantine is alive, after being shot in season 1, just in case you didn't know. So Eve is trying to pump him for information. Of course, he is so down, sells out, dips out, picks up Villanelle, and they start their own Murder Inc., basically. They're so glad that she didn't kill him. They leave for Germany just as Eve is about to break down Villanelle's door at the hotel. Perfect timing. Cuisine, art, fashion, what's not to enjoy? A lot of blurred lines this season, to be honest.
We all do crazy things.
Clearly they are down to blend into each other,
You
and
need to
it
find
becomes
her. Find you.
ambiguous
I know her
Finds you.
better now.
what and who
Better
is
than
who.
anyone. Better than she knows
Gray
herself.
areas for sure. Two grown-ass women
Oh, and
playing
Villanelle's so
emotional
interested
footsie
in
with
each
each other. The ghost and the dead man. So unless she's a free agent, Eve actually sets up a meeting because she's trying to hire Villanelle to work for her to capture the ghost, aka the other serial killer. It's a great reversal from season 1 where she ends up inviting Villanelle over for dinner, formally, to proposition her for the job. Although sometimes it does feel like, I shall have my cake and eat it too. And Villanelle says, yes. And she's like, I'm going in. And it turns out this is somebody's mother of Korean descent. And she actually is not willing to break at all. She was like, who? She only bent the knee to Villanelle because she could actually destroy whatever is left of whatever she holds dear in her life. But yeah, this is who hired her. Aaron Peel, the son. Because he wanted control. But anyway, they had been cooking up this entire scheme already where Villanelle was undercover as this girl named Billy, and something about substance abuse issues and blah blah blah. Long story short, she became very close with him through the sister and through the AA meetings from which they became acquainted. Anyway, he decides that he likes her just due to the fact that she's aggressive about how honest she is when it comes to her hedonistic nature, as well as the fact that they're both of a very strange cut. He likes the control and he enjoys seeing her enjoy things, as long as he controls it. So also, let's just take a mini tiny detour to the fact that Villanelle has finally met Nico. Without Eve's knowing at all. Understandably, Nico is pissed as fuck because not only did he finally find out why she was all PTSD'd the fuck out when she first got home, but it's why she's been sticking with this life-threatening job. It's this weird obsession with this weird-ass person who's talking about all this weird-ass dysfunctional shit, all of it, by the way, involving my wife, who is... all of this new information is just crazy to digest. All of these missing pieces, all of these gaps filled in, clicked. I mean, it's a lot to digest. And literally the craziest thing to have the side chick come to you and then flex on you about how she's so intimate with your wife. Like, holy shit! But yeah, anyway, they spend the entire night banging, and then the next morning he's just like, let's start the separation process. It's what's best for us both. Which I genuinely commend him for. At the end of the day, he doesn't want to share her with someone else, and especially not behind his back. It's better that they just separate and that he move in with Gemma, because at least then she gets the space she clearly wanted. So Eve comes over and then has like a rage seizure while holding Gemma's bras in her hands, and then threatening Gemma with his favorite sexual position. I'm so embarrassed. Please shut up. To Gemma's pleasure? That's enough. We're out of here. We're done. Bye. Finally, everything is starting to make sense. Aaron has finally been exposed as a serial killer psychopath with a lot of money. Villanelle, in turn, of course, kills him because he wants to hire her to kill Eve, and she's like, of course not, that's my lady, right? So of course they escape together, and as they prepare to leave the city, Eve finds out that this cleanup crew was not just after the information, after having discovered a shot Hugo, who, by the way, she abandons. She was on the cleanup list as well, is what she discovered. She was next. So now that they were both being hunted by their own organizations, it was time to leave. Obviously, it was no time to stay behind. I mean, that's why they killed Raymond together. Or so that's what Eve thought. Until it was revealed that Villanelle had the situation completely under control the entire time. All these weird questions start bubbling up to the surface, and it makes Eve think twice. That gun Villanelle had, she could have easily killed Raymond without Eve's help, or dragging her into it whatsoever. My God. How cringe. Are you stupid? What's actually wrong with you? This much needed reality check serves her very well. And she realizes not only what she's lost in Nico and the safety and the love that he wants for her, but also replaying all of these events that have come to pass with new clarity and wondering what's actually good for her. And it's not Villanelle. Unfortunately, Villanelle is like, "So you think I'm going to be a sweet little side dish and go out quietly? Bang, bang." And just slithers away like the snake that she is. She manipulates me. I want to leave. And she shoots me? Fucking bitch.
Wait, do I recognize you? I see you got what you wanted. The sexy maths teacher. School party. Yes.
And she's here
Nico?
again.
What's happening? I'm waiting.
For what?
For a thank you.
I thank you.
Old sketchy ass was literally watching them have sex.
Always close the curtains.
And the knife
You
is
never know what kind of pervert
out.
could be outside.
Everybody
Nico?
play nice.
She is really annoying.
She is annoying, I'm not gonna lie. But this is still really
gonna leave us
sad,
alone?
Of course not.
unfair,
Why don't you sit
and
down?
deeply unnecessary. Like, dude, they don't even know you. They have nothing to do with you. They're in Eve's life, not even yours. Ugh. And what's worse is that she's basically killed one and traumatized the other one. And it just didn't have to be like this at all. This season, both women displayed highly toxic and possessive tendencies of varying degrees, especially when it comes to maturity. Because, I mean, at least Eve let everybody live. But the thing is, they seem to bring out the very worst in each other. And they are both highly erratic at the possibility of being replaced, so do with that what you will. It's season 3, and everyone has gone their own way. Reflection is the key. And in the case of Nico, it's a bright new day away from Eve. And after everything that's happened, it's what he needs. I mean, the whole thing kind of starts out with Nico just checking out and deciding to move back to Poland. Basically, to whoever's around, adios, baby. Eve comes by and finds out by chance from one of the nurses. I mean, that's his quote-unquote wife, but the man is completely broken internally, even if he is physically okay. You watch somebody get murdered in front of you. I mean, you're gonna want to start a new life after that, I'm pretty sure. So, on to Poland. Her marriage has been falling apart piece by piece each season, and now it hangs by a thread, literally by name only. Her marriage is basically doomed and lost as a sacrifice to what she wanted initially. Working as a cook at a restaurant, I'm assuming is in London. Eve has started a new, low-profile life in a mini apartment where she's basically putting herself together again. I think getting shot would definitely do that to someone. But yeah, chain smoking in full effect and, you know, trying to rebuild her relationships. She's really doing her best, especially with everything going on in terms of Nico being severely mentally traumatized and being isolated after the fact. So she's sending joke pictures to Kenny, all that. And Kenny is dead. Just like that. Quite literally right after hanging out with Eve again. So seemingly losing her only friend that she has. And Carolyn, in shock, is forced to make amends with the woman that she tried to, self-admittedly, by the way, have killed by the very hand of the organization that she was working for. So, I mean, that's a yikes. In particular, it really brings into focus favorite child dynamics, which are not the best for child rearing in general, which basically equates to more allowances and freedom to be themselves, but only to the ones that you like. Basically, investing in one child more. And although not a new thing, it really does sting, and I think in general harms the development of any child. I mean, Geraldine herself is definitely an example of someone that is tolerated by her mother, and unfortunately she is very unlikable, which is the reality. But Carolyn really does make a good point about the fact that trying to actually get along and being around and dealing with it, despite just like overall shutting down the idea of hanging out, is much more valuable than just shutting it down altogether. Making an effort being there is what counts. Eve is seemingly roped back into the fold of searching for the 12 because of Kenny's death, but I suspect on top of that, she really has nothing. She's lucky that she had the team from the Bitter Pill, a newspaper organization, to back her up in the first place, who were Jamie, Bear, and Audrey, and worked with Kenny up until he died. Unfortunately, this is the straw that broke the camel's back for Eve and her sanity, so it just makes sense she fell back into it. Villanelle, Spain, and management. New life, new role, old handler. She starts off the season newly married and is always lying her ass off. Anyway, she knows Eve is alive, and then she begins to manage this young gay man named Felix. All this after she becomes a keeper. The promotion is complicated, to say the least. Felix, a killer? Yes. A natural? Absolutely fucking not. And in this business, you do as you're told, or you're next. And you know what? In this instance, he was next, and that's it. And that was the open and shut case of Felix. No crying. It's all incredibly unfulfilling. Back to Russia. When you're this thirsty for love and affection, what wouldn't you do to get a taste of some familiarity of your family? Sweet family ties is what she finds in Piotr, which is her, I'm guessing, her baby brother. He's just so cute and soft and really dreamy in the way that he comes off. I think there is a lot of sweetness to be found in memories that you share with other people. I mean, hello, building blocks and memories for a relationship, one and the same. Either way, you can tell that she's really touched that someone actually cares that she's around. It is heavily implied that they came from a very neglectful home, in and out of orphanages due to starvation. Villanelle was named the difficult child, and although she hates her mother and seems to resent her, Piotr does not, and they disagree here. Boris, or Borka, a sweet little boy, sensitive, with a big heart, loves Elton John. Next, we have Tatiana, who is Villanelle's mom and the matriarch of this entire family. Of course, there is an odd tension between her and Villanelle, borderline combustible and coursing through their relationship, even as they meet up again. I mean, she's very loved by her community, and she seems to have overcome poverty as well as all the hardships that came with her first husband dying. you know, met somebody that she loved, remarried, had a baby, again. So yeah, by all accounts good, but really weird tension. Also, adding to that nightmare-like tension is Villanelle by fanning the flames and asking her stepdad out in the yard like, hey, did you know that we were abandoned and that I was starving? And personally, it's like, girl, shut up. Oh my god, they sleep in the same bed. Who do you think is gonna be doing all this pillow talk with? Are you serious? Are you dumb? Like, don't get me wrong, all these people fucking suck, but please use your brain, Villanelle. Anyways, time for the family outing to the local festival. Villanelle begins to dominate as per usual, whilst her mother talks to her people all around in the community. Seemingly, all is well. Until she talks to Borka, who ends up telling her that he basically got told off for entering and getting last place in the cooking competition, saying that he was a disappointment to the family and all this other crazy. So Villanelle is incensed, and the whole illusion shatters for her. Suspicions confirmed. And even if they disagreed, her and Piotr, she realizes that she was correct in her assessment of her mother all along.
I want you to leave the house.
No. No.
You leave tomorrow. I don't want you to be here anymore.
A verbal punch to the face is what that was.
Why?
Awkward.
This is my home.
No, darling.
Thank you, Jody.
You're not a part of this family. You do not belong here.
Oh, okay. Kiss of death type shit. Jesus Christ. So this is basically what she has had to grow up with and deal with and has been stealthily hiding under the surface. And it's like, breaking news. This bitch is crazy. Back to you, Tom. Thank you so much. And to the weather report as well, coming up next. And yeah, but seriously, it's kind of interesting how like they're just, even when you try, it's just never gonna work, you know what I mean? Like, these kind of dynamics and like trying to go back to this, even if you find people like Piotr and Borka who genuinely love you, it's just never gonna work, you know what I mean? Like, these kind of people are just, they're insane. You can't change the minds.
He would do anything for you because you had a darkness.
The
Darkness.
Insane. Like I just said.
He thought you would do something to us. To me.
To me. Girl, shut up. I always find parents who project the very worst or the most delusional traits onto their children as kind of like a psychotic type of person. And after going full Kratos, Villanelle is ready to leave it all behind. And with Piotr and Borka safe, she sets fire to the house. She leaves them with a lot of money and takes off into the night. A cue of maturity is when she seems to realize that killing people doesn't fix the core issue. Maybe that's not always the answer, because she's pretty fucked up right now. Even Constantine was like, the point wasn't about proving her wrong or that she was right. It was about the fact that she's insane, and you can't change the mind of people that are like that. Clearly ill, and there's nothing you can do to change the way that she feels. She's delusional. And Nico is in danger and in the sights of Dasha. It all ends with Nico getting attacked while Eve is watching. The last moments that we see here in this season are critical to the growth that they've had up until this point. And that is coming to terms with the fact that not everything you want is good for you. And that's the whole point of discretion, even if you get a rush or the adrenaline or endorphins or the dopamine or whatever. The whole point of being a good adult is realizing that you have to ask yourself the hard questions and be honest. You're the only person, the first and the last, to control yourself. And they seem to be realizing this because they can't seem to move on or escape from the past. They only seem to regurgitate it on a level that is borderline masochistic. What does all of this mean if they have just a path of destruction and chaos behind them? It is truly a come to Jesus moment. And we are in season 4. And that Jesus moment gets largely expanded upon, as it is actually a much larger plot device that I did not anticipate. Basically, Eve doesn't want anything to do with Villanelle after their breakup or her baptism. Like, please leave me alone, and it's great that you're Catholic now, but, like, I'm leaving. And I'm not doing this with you. She's trying to move on, but Villanelle changed her mind, and she's kind of just trying to get her back. For her, this is more of a show. She's the star for a little bit. She gets to use this as a badge of rebirth, almost as a sense of, hey, take me back. I'm a new person now, technically, with this rebirth, so the same toxic shit will not keep happening. But anyway, she somehow got May and her father, who happens to be a Catholic preacher, to take her in, and especially her growth through this process. So, they go on a camping trip, and Villanelle's trying to understand what it means to be part of the Lord's flock, and has a Jesus version of her crop up to try to help her. Yes, you heard me correctly. A new twist on the Jesus character. Pompous, glamorous, yet agreeable. Of course, it's Villanelle. She is her one and only God. Well, her ego blind spot led her to make some very unpopular decisions, and after everyone turned on her, she was feeling more vulnerable than ever, and a serial killer being vulnerable is not great. She told everybody a dark secret, which is that the preacher killed his wife because he was intoxicated, drunk driving. That's when the tides turned, and she killed everybody, and then just leaves again, which is her pattern. Then, out of nowhere, she just shows up at that serial killer specialist psychologist's house, forces him to give her quote-unquote therapy until she feels better, and then tapes him and holds him hostage to listen to her bitching about Eve and about how if she might not be a serial killer at all because she actually regrets the things that she's been doing, and how maybe that she doesn't want to continue this kind of life. And maybe that's just it, not doing the same boring and fulfilling shit forever. So basically changing with no changes. He goes on to explain that maybe she is mid-metamorphosis, as clearly the situation is not complete, but real psychopaths don't feel bad about what they do. Or at least that was the nugget that I got out of it. Before she started holding him hostage without mercy. Like, wait, what? Season 4, and they are now love rivals for this woman. Hélène. Or Hélène? Hélène. Anyway, so she's a French serial killer, and she's also a member of the 12, 4 to be exact. And she's one of my favorite actresses, so kudos to her. Now she appeals to each of them for very different reasons. Villanelle with her mommy issues, and Eve for her thrill-seeking and danger combo. She's very multifaceted and very rich. I mean that theater right behind her, spoiled rotten, and clearly cherished. So Villanelle is in prison, and Eve is the person that put her there. And then Hélène released her. and sent her after Carolyn in Cuba. Narrowly avoiding death, I have to give Carolyn some props for her bribery skills, because I mean, even if Villanelle is mentally extremely fragile and deeply unwell, she understands that she wants a way out of this. So she switches teams, finding that she and Carolyn work exceedingly well together. But again, Carolyn is a notorious user. Villanelle is too busy putting herself together to notice. And when Carolyn leaves, Villanelle stays. She ends up doing some pro bono work and then decides it's time to go back to the United Kingdom. Can you believe that shit? And she's back. Which was the worst decision she could have made, considering Hélène has put a hit on her back. And then she finds out, thanks to spying, that Eve and Hélène have had something going on this entire time. And her little crush has been playing both sides. So she jumps out, slashes her ankles, and just goes bananas on her. And she's done. That's the end of her. Long story short, regardless of your definition of what a simp is, my version can be any gender and involves caring about, giving to someone, thinking about someone who sees you as below nothing, not worthy of any consideration, not a thank you. The right circumstances, and anybody can be a simp. You get nothing. Anyway, Villanelle ends up getting shot with a big-ass arrow by this person. And Eve suddenly realizes she wants to be with her forever or something. But too late, because the person that shot her wants her to. So she's not giving her up. And now that you're her rival, she wants to kill your ass too. So, I mean, that's cool. Gunn herself is really cringe. And if Ick was a person, I mean, she poisoned her entire French village. She's like, oh, that's so funny. Like, ew, what a loser. Actually, a complete loser and stalker. Eve has been trying to sort and sift through the wreckage that is her life. Ground zero. And with a little help from her friend Yusuf, who she's also friends with and banging on the job, and person who she discusses PTSD with, it helps. But he tries to take her out for karaoke, and it triggers an episode. A full-on mental breakdown, and realizing that she's lost everyone who she started out with really is a blow. Losing everyone, crushing. Thankfully, Yusuf is a good friend and states that now, with this new normal, she needs to find new meaning. Creating it, not simply waiting for it or by whimsy. She doesn't have that kind of time. It is imperative for her and for her survival. Relating that most of the men that he served with in the war have passed on due to struggling with this. The challenge of rejoining society and finding something worth living for. They discuss their childhoods and stories of origin. And you realize that Gunn is a complete brute who is exactly Villanelle if she didn't fix her shit or change in terms of her violent and hedonistic tendencies. Actual growth. It seems that killing anything or anyone not serving the purpose that you set isn't such a great way of life. And then Eve shows up, rescues her by managing to blind Gunn, and they decide to finally end the 12. Then, finally, it happens. And not to be dramatic, but if this were James Bond in the 4th season, he'd be on like his 8th Bond girl. Why did it take so long to get one kiss between the 2 female leads? Anyways, I would like kissing representation for not just the gays, but also the straights. Thank you so much. Vote for me. This is a great show. Amen. That's right. And I'm the kind of person that gets uncomfortable watching other people kiss because it feels too intimate. So yeah. The good is that they join forces to defeat the 12, but anyway, that's how you know I'm about your rights. This entire season reminded me of sacrifices. The choices made to attain or achieve a particular goal, and how choices of the past live within us, as we are always paying for our sins and missteps. And I do not think that is exclusive to religion. Nico, for example, is seemingly paralyzed after that last attack with Dasha, and straight up tells Eve, "Piss off forever," with a little mini hand computer. So famous last words. He's done. And Carolyn, being the black hole of a person that she is, swallows and destroys everything she comes across. Constantine, Pam, and Irina. I cry. My baby started doing so well. An old spy who's tired of all of the games. He was trying to become a mayor when he was dragged out of retirement. Unfortunately, embezzlement made him vulnerable to Hélène and her threats. Losing Irina broke something in him. And sadly, it feels like all of his proverbial children either leave him, almost kill him, or actually kill him. The way that Pam does. A misguided move, as he's been trying to get out of the game and take at least one of his daughters with him. And Pam is basically the potential life Villanelle could have had, given the right circumstances and influences. The potential to actually be happy.
Why would you do this for me?
And Constantine,
Because the 12 will make
the
you do
father
terrible
figure,
things.
gives her the very best
You're
advice.
so much better than the life
before he
that's planned
passes
for
on.
you.
And if the 12 find us?
And I don't care. I needed this happy ending. Everyone is dying, and I have picked a lane, which is I need some type of sunshine. Get the fuck out of here if you're gonna complain about this. Irina, season 1, when we first meet her, is so smart and mouthy and funny, just like Villanelle. And in the pitfalls of the game, she gets recruited and becomes Villanelle. Hélène made sure to destroy the one person Constantine cared about right before she passed. And back to the UK. They are on a boat right next to the River Thames, where coincidentally they said goodbye to each other last season. An odd turn. United and stronger than ever, Eve officiates a gay wedding and uses the moment to convey her own vow. The art of kintsugi, which reflects all of the things they have come to learn by knowing and loving each other, especially the periods of brokenness. Emerge better and stronger than before, choosing to love one another despite the hardship, the trials and tribulations, just to get here. There is beauty and there is value in the scars. Something this strong can't be broken. Villanelle goes downstairs and eradicates the 12. Yes, it really plays out like that. I'm not joking, actually. Dead serious. Put a pin in this right here. The ending splits, so better I give you context. Thank you. I am not a clown. Thank you. Cinematography. Locations, the framing, the perfect details. This was filmed in over 7 countries, but these are just a few cities to give you a taste. I love hearing the working professionals talk about this show.
How I'm going to light it. So what will be built into the design of the set that will facilitate the lighting being, the right atmosphere and doing what you want it to do. As a cinematographer, we always hope that we will shoot the exteriors first and then come into the interiors in a studio or wherever they are on location.
They did this with Tatiana's house, shooting the outside and then building the entire set from scratch. And this also applies to Villanelle's Parisian apartment. Perfect lighting, everything hand-picked and crafted. Every other shot, set, you name it, every last corner.
All I said to him was, she has style, but she also doesn't really completely know who she is. He managed to crash those two things together so beautifully. So when you walk into this gorgeous flat that she owns, it does still feel like a young woman in her 20s who just happens to have wigs and guns in her drawers.
I've always loved mood boards in order to convey the elements that make something up, and this is no different. I think it's great character building. Jodie's real voice.
You look around the apartment, there's loads of little knickknacks that just don't look like they belong in the same room. But I feel like they're probably all little things that she's collected. You know, she travels a lot.
So cute. And yeah, I agree. I think it's the same way that all the stuff that you own and its particular style can convey something about you to a complete stranger. I like that.
Elton's music is about freedom. It's about wanting to have a better life, to get out, to be yourself.
That sort of manifests itself in this fantasy world that he's developed.
Being able to capture and convey the dreaminess of childhood, that's special. And I really appreciate all of the care that they took to create this world for us. Also, I am not a film student. I'm just some random person in the world who happens to like movies. I only do things for fun or because I like them, honestly. So thank you for any help with anything I may have missed. Fascinating details and overall positives for the show. Like the flamboyant peacock that she is, she shines.
She speaks so many languages, and depending on the mission that she's going on, she will have a set costume and hair and like a totally different life that she just kind of morphs into.
She's got this chameleon quality where she can flip between characters.
She can be absolutely anyone from anywhere, but what remains the same is her ability to attract attention. From hyperfeminine to masculine pieces and suits. Very androgynous. The glaze. A strange comedic gloss to it all. It's what gives the show its depth and flavor, which actually in turn makes it more interesting and palatable. Plus, it keeps the drama from going flat, since it's more than just one thing the entire time. It really helps, to be honest. When I think about the music, it's about how some of this music is actually divine. This show actually has one of the best soundtracks in terms of matching its pace and tone. It's up there with the original soundtrack for the show Skins, which I love and I'm attached to. Did I tell you or did I tell you? Character nuance, House of Mirrors. Villanelle and Irina. Love of language and deep abandonment issues, they are more like sisters than they care to admit. Sharing Constantine as their father figure.
This is a terrible hug.
Then maybe you shouldn't.
Constantine is that stern dad.
When are you going to get over that?
And he describes Irina as annoying but brilliant.
You want to stay and watch a movie?
No, I can't.
I'm sorry.
I need you to do something for me. Something personal. Off the
record?
record. I really hate it when you do that.
Villanelle and Pam, a particular type of person, and a vulnerable person at that, because this group definitely goes after the young, who in particular have no prospects. They are similar because they had basically no one when they were recruited. polar opposites in every other way. And I might be tripping balls, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. But I'm pretty sure that even Carolyn said she met Villanelle while she was in an orphanage. So anyway, color symbolism faded to fresh. Overall, what I'm saying is that it speaks to the predatory nature of the entire business. I mean, recruiting children. Pretty fucked up. Just saying. Carolyn and Villanelle. These two get along famously, and it just so happens they are both socially glossy and have the habit of keeping a mask on for the sake of specific goals. Anyway, season 4 revealed that they actually share a cutthroat nature, despite the light attitude that they present to the public, giving the impression that Carolyn is the real psychopath at times. They can be honest with each other to an interesting degree, to say the least. And so they discuss a lot of things and even share in the torture that, well, Carolyn came here to execute, let's be serious. She is here to get some intel, some information, and bounce. They really seem to enjoy each other's company, though. And while I understand that spies and their tropes are supposed to be ultra serious, it's boring. And the lighthearted elements in Killing Eve, in Constantine, Carolyn, and Villanelle in particular, it switched it up and it kept it from getting stale, broke up the monotony, which I appreciate, and respectfully, James Bond has a box type of personality, as in none, you can project whoever you want onto him. He and Carolyn remind me of why you cannot. It is not sustainable to be cool 24/7.
God, you're sexy when I'm right.
Ew. Like, you've been in the bedroom or just shut up. I don't want to hear that shit. Constantine and Carolyn actually go way back, as in their 20s, when they were both childless. And for some reason, in an anarchist mini gang. Anyway, they first met while they were dating other people. And still, there seemed to be a magnetic pull, because even though he was virtually a stranger and just part of the general friend group, there was contact. He caught her eye. And yes, they started to hook up while in their little gang. Like, just break up, what the fuck? It was so complicated for no reason. It's so bizarre. This is basically the one person that you see forever and accepts you as well because they have the same job you do, which is the worst part about you.
Which of your husband was this?
Friends for a long time.
Third.
And they actually seem to enjoy each other's company. A very interesting bond. Books versus the show. The book and the show are completely different pieces of art. A lot of things are missing, exaggerated, or differ just wildly to the point of not being recognizable. And Carolyn, on that note, was created for the show. Sexuality, exploration, and expression. The book had more details and nuance when it came to the topic, from what I've read online, and was particularly interesting for Eve's character because it begins to explore the fact that this may be the first woman that she's ever been attracted to.
Ben? Yes.
Were you gay?
I just fall in love with whoever I fall in love with.
How many men have you been in love with?
Hundreds.
Bill is very laced up at work and decides to share with his friend because being attracted to someone is evident regardless of their gender. The scenes involving Carolyn's father show the rules around masculinity and what is acceptable have changed, especially talking about it. It's crazy to think about how one person being gay could change the perception of their life. Carolyn clearly loved her father, and this completely changed the trajectory of her life. She knew he was gay. That never changed the fact that he loved her and was an excellent father to her. The past versus the present. Bill was married and had a fresh baby. Nobody suspected any of it. And it also wasn't anybody else's business. He was a consenting adult. And this was before his wife. Personally, consenting adults doing whatever they want, do as you please. Life isn't exactly static. But yeah, you know, whatever. The relationship. Let us dance to the dumpster fire. Heavily romanticized because what the fuck is wrong with y'all? The James Bond. If he was interesting special at all, besides slutty. James Bond special because copy and paste a lot of his qualities, like adventurous, hypersexual, and very focused on his job being done well. That's also these women. Type A personalities. One thing doesn't work, try something else. It's chaos in the context of their relationship. I mean, Eve sidelined Nico for her career, and that was her husband. They both prioritize their work, make exceptions for each other, even if they could lose everything as well as their lives. It's very insane, but they are similar. The observed and the observer, these roles are interchangeable in this relationship. And when it comes to seduction, they are both very good at drawing whatever they desire to them. It's this weird magnetic kind of pull. Electricity. They feel upon first meeting. And Villanelle has a type. So when she laid eyes on Eve, it was over. Especially over her hair. Remnants of Anna. I mean, Jesus Christ, let's be honest. Even while with her boyfriend, Villanelle checks out another woman who reminds her of Eve. I mean, researching her, her family, her husband, she even seduces women who are strikingly similar to her. It seems like she's trying to shake off the craving. So clearly, Eve is on her mind. They don't have her essence, though. They're annoying to listen to, they're nervous, and they're not really into it. And it's more like roleplay. They do not suffice, needless to say. However, I will give it to them. They really don't hold back. Giving yourself fully to whoever and whatever pulls you. Couldn't be me, but I respect the dedication to living a very full throttle type of life. But let's be clear, they both have this weird trend of having relations with people they don't really want for the sake of using their bodies like a particular type of toy, which is severely fucked. They do this with women, Eve with Nico, and even Hugo. The big picture, moth to a flame. Was it worth it? This is a subjective answer, I think, and depending heavily on the medium, I think you can be easily swayed one way more than the other. Remember, I said that there's literally two endings. The quote, "Better to have loved and lost than to not have loved at all" by Lord Tennyson comes to mind. And honestly, I don't know, some pain is so great that personally I would rather never even start it if it ends that badly. Now I did say it depends on the medium for a reason. One is very gut-wrenching, and it depends on the type of viewer as well. Now they run away together in the books. A happy ending, no questions asked, whatsoever. First ending, and then the second ending, which is in the show, you watch as they jump overboard. Then Eve watches Villanelle die in the River Thames after being shot down thanks to Carolyn. So yeah, realism is kind of a bitch. CCTV is hard to get around, so a minorly complaint at best. Also, the writing seemed to decline more each season. Season 1 is the strongest and the most well put together. Cohesion seemed to be lacking, and I think that's thanks to a new showrunner heading every season. Who knows what it takes to run a writer's room and to literally carry a show on your back. Eve, Eve sometimes herself was a problem for me. She was like a 40-year-old something plus woman, which is fine, but then you're just acting like a teenager and you're driving me crazy. Like, what are you doing? 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 Earth to Eve, bro, she kills people. You are caping for her so hard right now. This is embarrassing. And it has to be said, Eve is a weirdo. Before she'd even got this job, she was super fixated on serial killers, complimenting their work. Super creepy and weird, and it doesn't help that Villanelle just happens to be hot. Interesting creative choices. Villanelle's mommy issues on full display. Like, someone tell me why her mom, Anna, and Eve all have the same hair, build, and even style. Ugh, talk about weird coincidences. Totally creepy. Becoming a spy comes with free dysfunction. It always starts with keeping secrets. From your family, loved ones, everything crumbles around you. Slowly but surely, because no one can trust your lying ass. Nobody in this lifestyle is immune. Everything on the surface looks fine, but under closer inspection, shit is on fire. I mean, in season 1, Carolyn straight up says, "I don't like your husband." I'm like, damn, you've never even met him.
That you're trying to make the world safer for everyone. Not just
Nico.
Nico. I mean, they all die in the end anyway.
Becoming a spy 100% ruined her marriage. The bury your gays ending. The fans and Luke Jennings join forces to fight the wrongs that have been done to them. Because yeah, honestly, that ending was such a punch to the face. Dies in the water. Zoom out shot of River Thames. Silence. Thank you. Rightfully so. Me too. But only mildly, because it's not that deep for me. Anyway, we got a small petition and some complaints out of it. So, I mean, a little bit of fanfare. And I have to say, a nice little thank you to Hobgay Goblin. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. They are accurate. And I also did notice that writing declined, so kudos to you as well, Hobgay Goblin. Also, this love story involves somebody that kills people for a living, so I don't know what exactly we want in terms of a happy ending out here. What are we expecting? I did hate and did not expect that level of brutality for an ending, though. I was just shocked at such an abrupt and horrible ending. Even Luke Jennings would get like, what the fuck? Anyway, he said that he saw it as a way to punish the couple for the brazen bloodbath left in the wake of their romance, basically. And he wanted them to walk off into the sunset. His words. Like in the book. So, that's his response to the whole thing. what this means for the story. Villanelle is dead in the show, which, by the way, even Jodie Comer hates and has said so in interviews. I also understand we can't always win against tragedies, especially when it's built into the plot. However, in the books, Villanelle lives on and Luke Jennings plans on keeping it that way. And her very busy. So the books are set to continue. This way, if you hated the show's ending, you have a way to opt out and keep going in that direction. More leeway in that sense. For the record, I hate cliches, and this is no different. This is the more realistic ending, even if I hate it, and I do know that, so... I mean, the game is rough. Portrait of a Lady on Fire. That's who you remind me of. Belonging, sharing elements to different degrees, how circumstances dictate even who you're allowed to love. Very sweet and dreamy caresses. The silver lining of it all. The splits between the book and the TV series allow me to have two timelines from this one story. A 2-for-1? That's my kind of dealio. One tragedy and one happy ending. Basically, making the most of what I've got. I'm just enjoying what I can about the art and the situation, since I don't control either. I think it's best to appreciate. That's it. Final thoughts. First off, incredible cast, perfectly cast, and thank you to absolutely every single person part of putting this together. From the costuming to the set dressing to those responsible for capturing the atmosphere. Absolutely excellent work, and I couldn't have asked for more. I am so grateful. Thank you so much. In the most extreme, this is an example of how trusting the wrong person can do you borderline fatal harm. Like, duh. And on the other, electric, mutually assured destruction until those people have healed their demons and choose to do better. Love can be simple or complicated. There are no rules. The observer and the observed, interchangeable. Reminds me of the painter's gaze. In turn, reminding me of Frida Kahlo and her husband, as they were both artists and constantly featured each other in their work, their lives bleeding and blending into each other. Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera, divorced once, married twice, artists by trade, a painful, stormy relationship, one for the books. Basically, he seemed to love cheating, she cheated back, and even with some of the women that he cheated on her originally with. They loved each other, but why? I'm so serious. At least she slept with Trotsky because he was sleeping with her sister for years before she died. As in, ew, I'm disgusted. Baby, don't you Satan. No more. Cucked by Kim, I think the fuck not. Thank you to Blind Dweller and museums presenting her work and life on YouTube. And a big thank you to Frida herself. Being vulnerable and honest is not an easy task. Creating art from your darkest and most radioactive thoughts, as well as your most painful memories, yeah, that can release the pressure in terms of what is bottling things up, but it's extremely difficult to be that honest. However, by giving birth through artistic creation, it's transformative, and it forces the mental digestion of events, giving way to some level of healing and release. It is also important to remember that sometimes, and within reason, who we love isn't a reflection of our own character, but our weakness. Similar or polar opposites, all couples have things that they're going to have to work through and deal with if they want to stay together. Real life is that everyone has problems. And she is her own person. I'm not going to infantilize her or her choices. Either way, that was only one aspect of her life. An adventurous, intelligent, and creative woman, she never held back, which is key for her personality, and why her self-portraits have always had a special place in my heart. It's the inspiration and how time never stops. Even if it feels stagnant at times, capturing the moment or the chapter really helps to bring that into perspective. Because we don't know when we will run out of those precious moments and die, so yeah. And I think that focusing on the fun and joy is a top priority. Things can get lost in the shuffle, yes, but this can't be one of them. We are more than our misery or pain or sadness, and I'm glad that's what I'm leaving you with. That even in the pits of chaos, we have to try and enjoy whatever we can. Anyway, yeah, I just said a lot to you about one show. And on that note, I will promptly see myself out. Thank you. I've had a lovely time. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. Have a good day, and please take care of yourself. Bye-bye.